Hello, you're very welcome to the Irish Independence League of Ireland preview show, joined by Aidan Fitzmaurice today to look ahead to a big round of fixtures this Friday night, and of course a little look ahead to the bank holiday Monday fixtures too. So Aidan, big Friday, Monday double header coming up in the League of Ireland. The TV game on Friday is Bohs and Derry at Dalymount Park. We did have a mental 4-3 game at Tallaght Park last week, but when these two sides met at Dalymount last September, it was 4-3 with Derry coming out on top in that one. I know in the Champions League this week as well, there's been crazy high scores too. I'm not sure if we'll see the same 4-3 result this time around after last September, but there's two, I suppose, elements coming into this game. Bohs are on a really difficult run at the moment. The pressure will be on at home to at least get a draw, if not win. They come into this winless in 7, having only been top of the league a couple of weeks ago. And Derry, after a horrendous start to the season, steadying the ship and really turning their form around with 2 wins in their last 2. I know you were at Celtic Park last week, a historic occasion matched with the result they wanted. The form is with Derry coming into this one, and there's just a little bit of pressure on Bohs to get a result.
More than a little bit, there's huge pressure, and I'm sure the Bohs, I don't think the atmosphere at Dalymount has been great this year. I think a long time it's a lot of games. It's taken the crowd a while to get behind the team and get going. I think Bohs probably would prefer to be away. They've 2 back-to-back home games. Derry are a different club in the last 2 weeks. Based on results change everything. And 3 weeks ago, Tiernan Lynch was under huge pressure. I think we said on the show that it didn't look like a happy camp or a happy club. We mentioned the tiny 35 supporters going to Tallaght Park to see the game, which is a fraction of what would normally go, and it's been turned around with a couple of wins. The other factor in this is one of those anomalies or strange things in football that coaching courses can't prepare you for. Derry had this insanely good record in Dalymount. It's just going back years. I remember Rory Higgins saying when he was a player, his debut for Derry was away to Bohs and they won. He carried that with him, and he always liked Dalymount as a player with Derry and then as manager. So I think Derry look a lot freer. I saw them last week. There was a really good occasion, I have to say, in Celtic Park for the first game with the new arrangement of Derry City using Derry's GHQ. Both parties have worked really well to make it. The place looked really well. It was a good atmosphere. Nice family fan zone. You were able to get some food and beer tents. It worked really well. And pitch was shocking. It has to be said. The pitch was shocking, but it's gone right for Derry. I think they're a bit more spring in their step. And I think they will come to Dalymount and look to dominate. The 2 players who stood out for me last week were this is Derry team missing Brian Maher and Mickey Duffy in particular and James McLean, but Carl Winchester ran the midfield against Shamrock Rovers, and Adam Oriel, I thought it was the best game I've seen him play for Derry City. It was hard to even say what position he was in. He just seemed to be all over the place, and I mean that in a good sense, not in a negative sense. Just he was everywhere. He was left, he was right, he was centre. He just moved. He had the freedom to move around. So Derry are a lot more confident. They come to Dublin now with 2 wins in a row. The pressure's off a little bit, and they'll look to turn the screw and put that pressure on Bohemians. Yeah,
the feel-good factor is back in Derry, and I suppose away from the pitch. The start of the week, we got the news that James McLean got good news in terms of his hip injury, a massive plus for him, the team, the supporters, and Tiernan Lynch. There was real worries that he may have played his final game for Derry. That now doesn't look like it'll be the case. He's hoping to I think he said feel like a footballer again in the matter of 6 or so weeks. We've been critical of Tiernan Lynch in the early part of the season because the results really weren't there, but the post-match comments really didn't inspire in terms of he acknowledged himself. He sounded like a broken record. The lads will roll our sleeves up. We have to work hard to get out of this, but just looking at the post-match scenes last Friday, there was a real pep in his step, and you could see the pressure that was there in the last few weeks. Like, it's been so many weeks since he was coming out after a game, after a big win, and just seems to be having a pep in his step.
Yeah, I think the physical side of it, that's what impressed me about Derry last week. I think Derry, and this isn't a negative, I think they turned that game against Shamrock Rovers into a physical battle and they won it. I think Shamrock Rovers were up for the battle. I was watching the game and opening 10-15 minutes were kind of cagey enough, and I wrote down a note thinking Jack Byrne, it really looked as if 15-20 minutes in that Jack Byrne was just going to want to have one of those games where he just dominates, he takes control and he wins the game for his club. And it was one in midfield. Winchester was immense. He's been probably in and out, like a lot of players at Derry this year, been in and out of the team. The team has been unsettled, a lot of that down to injury and Adam O'Reilly, but they turned it into a physical battle and they won that. Shamrock Rovers in midfield were not able for that battle, and if Derry bring that same energy and that same fight to Dalymount, I think they can go away with a win.
I saw Bohs last week against St. Pat's. St. Pat's winning that one, and the first half there wasn't too much between the teams at all. Second half, Bohs didn't lay a glove on Pats. There was nothing going forward. Pats really enjoying themselves, finding it really easy to play against Bohs. So that performance was a little bit concerning for me, and the last few weeks have been concerning for the fans as well. But just from Anna Reynolds' point of view, I know they have Shells at home next Monday as well now. You need at least one win out of these two games just to ease the pressure a bit.
I think they need two, but the confidence really has gone. And we talked about Derry, who were 3 weeks ago. Derry were a closest club. Now they got 2 wins, so they're back. Results breed confidence.
It's amazing how quick
build on that. And Bohemians now, remarkable, all those clean sheets at the start of the season. Remember the disappointment of conceding one, the first one they let in, and now they're just leaking goals. They look very, very vulnerable. They don't look organised at the back. Questions now about, Hickey's been converted to a centre half. Is he really the kind of player you can build a team, provide a spine for a team to come around from? And that Hickey Todd unit that was so strong earlier on looks very vulnerable now. People like Keane Levy and people like that are able to pick them apart. And I suppose for this week, these two games do Derry City on Friday and Shelbourne on Monday, do they have the tools to pick them apart? But yeah, Bohs do look vulnerable at the moment.
Another manager under a bit of pressure at the moment, Joey O'Brien at Shelbourne, 4 defeats in their last 4 games, leaving them in 8th, and they're closer to the bottom than they actually are second at the moment, heading into Friday's trip to Dundalk. It's a big double header for Joey O'Brien and Shelbourne, just to turn the tide a little bit. The goals they've been conceding in recent weeks haven't been like them at all. Hugely frustrating for Joey O'Brien, and he knows that, they need to turn it around fast, because this April-May period is so busy that you can quickly find yourself falling behind.
But if you look, they conceded 12 in the last 4, and he said it's not like them. That's kind of outdated now, because Shelbourne under Damien Duff, as you said before, you really
not like them in terms of early last year, 2024.
But that's gone now, because they're so open, they're so wide, and what concerns me at Shelbourne is they haven't been able to fix it. Joey O'Brien was saying the same thing a month ago, that we're giving up goals too cheaply, we're conceding from set pieces. They're still conceding from set pieces, and the softness. So you look at the goal that won it from Conor Keeley last week. I mean, anybody looking back at that, a centre half picks up a free ball in that area. There's a rake of bodies in front of him, and he gets a strike on, and the goalkeeper slowed. There's fault there everywhere. There's fault in how Keeley was free, how he was able to get a shot on goal, and how Vestal was slowed down, was slow to get to it. Just that rock. Maybe Paddy Barrett still is building up to fitness. They're badly missing Oran Casey. But Shelbourne, they just look it's very easy to score against at the moment, and that's why you have 2 teams on on Monday. You will have 2 teams who may be going into that Bohs Shells game possibly off defeats or off another tough night. A lot of pressure on both managers.
It's been a really tough couple of weeks for Shelbourne. Not really the case for Dundalk. They've really been one of the stories of the season so far. I think they were unbeaten in 6 or 7, and then suffering defeat to Sligo last week. Back at Oriel Park this Friday, it's a good chance just to put that behind them, get back on track. I've been so impressed with them. I actually saw this fixture at Tallaght Park a couple of weeks ago. My first time to see them so far this season. Was so impressed with them. They just seem to have quality all over the pitch, and every position just seems to be working. Like Conor Kearns getting injured a couple of weeks ago. The goalkeepers come in, done absolutely fine. The back line, the midfield, Harry Groom, Rowan and Arubi up top. It's been a long time since I've seen a striker just really make such an impact and put himself about so much as that target man. So it's a good chance for them just to put last week behind them and get a win.
Should be mentioned as well, this is a Dundalk team playing without their goalkeeper. Conor Kearns is injured. The 2 teams, Brian Maher and Conor Kearns, so different length of injuries, but both they've counted it well. But you mentioned Arubi, and at the start of the season we were thinking who would be the top striker. Okay, Edmondson at St. Pat's has had a really good season. Amond hasn't really kicked on. Lonergan has had a lot of injuries, hasn't kicked on for Waterford. Sligo don't really have a striker that they're relying on, even though King Cavan has been brilliant. Colin Whelan has been very in and out for Bohs. Rovers have missed Rory Gaffney. The striker of the year so far has probably been maybe Arubi, who's been, I just love the way he plays and his alertness. The goal he scored in Dalymount, just that striker's knack. He has that vision, and Porrigammon still has the potential to score score and may still finish the season as top scorer. Lonergan could kick on again, but Ruby, just watch the freedom he plays with. I think that sums up the way Dundalk are playing at the moment, that freedom and the lack of pressure. We're talking a lot about pressure. There's pressure on Bohs and Shells this weekend. There's pressure on Shamrock Rovers at home in a game to Waterford. They're expected to win. I think Dundalk are just enjoying playing with that freedom because there's no pressure on them.
Yeah, Aidan, you mentioned Shamrock Rovers there, hosting Waterford, a clash between 2nd and 10th. For Waterford, it's been a disastrous start to the season so far. There was a little sense that they were beginning to turn the tide. Back-to-back draws against Shamrock Rovers and Bohemians, suffered defeat, but then another draw against Galway United. But the draws just won't cut it. They'll need to be picking up wins sooner rather than later. And I suppose Shamrock Rovers, off the back of that defeat at Celtic Park last week, Bradley a little bit unhappy with the pitch, but not making an excuse. Now, he's seen the bigger picture in terms of this new pitch at the Brandywell will benefit the league in the long run. So not making an excuse out of that, but there's no getting away from the fact that it did affect their play, their pass and their possession last week on that surface at Celtic Park.
I think this weekend is a test of Shamrock Rovers, and we were with Stephen Bradley doing interviews on Thursday morning, and he was asked about this in terms of the run of games they've had. They had 3 derbies in a row and then Derry City, so 3 of their closest rivals, city rivals, and then Derry, who were meant to be their challengers for the league. It's easy for players to get yourself up for those. Didn't always work out. Of course, they didn't win in Derry, but in terms of motivation, and now that drops a little bit, and this is another kind of challenge. They're home to Waterford bottom. Shamrock Rovers fans will expect them to win. They're home to Drogheda on Monday, and as we know, crowds drop off. Intensity, just that 5 o'clock kick-off on a Monday, just something about it. It's not the same as 8 o'clock and the white heat battle of a Friday night.
Sometimes people might be going to the pub or
the pub at the beach. So it is different, and Steve Bradley spoke about that. He said on the outside there is that expectation. Yes, there should be 6 points for Shamrock Rovers, but they have to turn up and do it. Shamrock, they were very wary of the fact that Waterford took points against them. Shamrock Rovers had to come from behind to get a point in that game. And Pádraig Hammond, who Bradley described as the best finisher in the league, he said if we have to be very careful of him. One goal so far for Podge, he's usually on more, but if he gets service, and that's been probably Waterford's problem, that they're getting goals from Voiles, got one a few weeks ago, McMenemy nicked one late on against Galway. They haven't really got Lonergan and Hammond firing, so you would expect Shamrock Rovers to win this, but the way that Waterford approached, I think they'll have a similar approach to the way they approached the game away to Bohemians. So good pressure, they were completely under the cosh for 40 minutes and took the lead from a set piece. They will probably have the same, John Day will have them set up the same way, try and frustrate the home. Shamrock Rovers fans are going there this weekend expecting a show, expecting a treat, expecting a win. John Daly's job at Waterford is to negate that, frustrate that, take that pressure, and if they can get something from a set piece or get it wide and get it into Hammond, they could cause problems. So Shamrock Rovers, you would expect them to win both games. Doesn't always happen that way.
We've said the last couple of weeks that there is a sense that Shamrock Rovers still have another gear or two in them, but there is a little bit of pressure. Just take 6 points from these 2 games, Friday, Monday against Waterford and Drogheda, where you look at their recent form and you'd really be expecting Shamrock Rovers to take 2 wins out of 2. A team coming into this weekend with 2 wins out of 2 with St. Pat's. I saw them last week. Really full value for their win, their derby win against Bohs. Stephen Kenny's St. Pat's going to Galway, who are 6th at the moment and are just going along nicely. I think St. Pat's have found Eamon Park a tricky place to go in the last couple of years. Tricky one to call this because St. Pat's are in good form coming into this. But they are still missing a couple of bodies. We'll have to wait for the news on Aidan Keena, still missing Ramal Palmer, Simon Power. Galway, John Caulfield might just fancy a little crack at this, and of course it's the latest rematch between Caulfield and Kenny.
But I think St. Pat's are coping well, and signing of the season so far really has been Edmondson for Pats. A lot of imports haven't worked. A lot of clubs are. I think John Russell has spoke at a Sligo Rovers event early this week to the members and said Traoré was one of their hopeful. They took a punt on him signing at the start of the season, and it hasn't worked. He's not getting minutes, and he probably will leave in the summer. A lot of those signings just haven't worked for clubs, but Edmondson has just gone straight in at St. Pat's. A bit of a folk hero already, just the way he leads the line, the way he puts himself about. Key player for me for St. Pat's. Forrester has been a huge figure for Pat's for the last decade, more or less. But Cian Levy, we're talking about the Ireland squad. We'll probably talk maybe next week about what players will come in. Dawson Devoy's name is in the frame. Ed McGinty may come in, one or two others, but Cian Levy just the way he's playing at the moment, it's just that creativity. He's driving that St. Pat's team on. Cian Leave is somebody who could come in. He missed out on a lot of underage international football because of injuries when he was in England, and it took him a while to get going once he got back here. And it's been hard for Cian Leave to get a strong run of games because of just the way his body is built. But he's driving St. Pat's at the moment, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the Ireland squad in Murcia in 2 weeks' time. But St. Pat's, yeah, look, they've coped. Palmer, I think, really does make them tick when he's fit. They're missing him at the moment. Getting those wins without Ramal Palmer and Aidan Keena, that's a sign of a team doing well.
And speaking to Stephen Kenny last week, hailing Joe Redmond is one of the best defenders in the league, and we put it to Stephen Kenny, you've worked with a lot of top defenders at the League of Ireland level in Scotland and for Ireland too. Stephen Kenny saying he's right up there with the rest of them. Just looking at the final game, Drogheda against Sligo Rovers, two teams who had a really difficult start to the seasons but have turned their form around in the last week or two. Drogheda coming out the right side of that crazy 4-3 game at Tallaght Park. Sligo Rovers winning 3 in a row, where they were weeks and weeks and weeks waiting for their first win of the season as well. I suppose from Kevin Doherty's point of view, that was a massive win last week just to ease the pressure. They needed something from somewhere and came out the right side of a mental game.
Yeah, and Kevin said in his interview after, he spoke with the nonsense that he's been hearing, and clearly a lot of criticism because their ambitions this year, Drogheda weren't expected to challenge for the league by any means, but to push for top 5, push for Europe, and they're leaking a lot of goals. A lot of things weren't going right. Changing goalkeeper. I don't think Keeley has been the force. He's still an excellent player, one of the top defenders in the league. I don't think he's as dominant as he was last season. Injuries didn't help as well for Drogheda, picking up injuries here and there. A lot of new players as well, players not just new to the club but new to the league. Those Americans, they signed Buckner and people like that. It did take them time to bed in. But from Sligo point of view, I'm going to give my weekly tribute to Will Fitzgerald. I was over in Scotland recently interviewing Owen Elding, his former teammate, and I just asked Owen, how come nobody over here? You're not telling your boss here at Edinburgh, at Hibs, about this guy Will Fitzgerald, who I just think he's an immense player, and they've come through that. We spoke before about managers being under pressure, and there was a little bit of disquiet from the Sligo Rovers support area when they were on that bad run. The board stuck with John Russell. They're playing really delivering at the moment. This one is impossible to call. I don't know. Drogheda will take that confidence from that win. Drogheda still leaking goals. What I take from me is Sligo. Sam Sargent, 3 clean sheets in the last 4. That's huge for Sligo. That they didn't have that earlier on. They were leaking a lot of goals. I think Denham being fit again has really made them a much tighter unit. So if I'm looking at this, if I'm a Sligo Rovers fan, you're happy with the form, the way things have turned around. But 3 clean sheets and 4, Bohs are leaking goals, Drogheda are leaking goals, Shells can't keep a clean sheet. I think there's a lot to be positive for if you're a Sligo Rovers fan going into that.
So if Will Fitzgerald gets a move across the water in the summer or something,
I want 10%.
Take a bit of credit. Take a bit of credit.
He's playing. I know there was a link with the Dutch club earlier in the year, and Sligo had this issue where they can't see. They need to fund that model that they have, and hopefully they retain that membership for as long as possible. They need to sell on Elding, but if they can keep players, and I think there was interest in Fitzgerald over the summer. I think John Russell told the club, look, you can't expect me to build a team and we keep losing players. So the mixture of the experience of players like him and McElroy, the academy, Patton, the academy boys who've come in and stayed in the team this season. Sligo is certainly it's a challenge, and we know from the figures that come out this week from their speech to the members, it's a challenge, and how long they can keep running the club as a members owned club, we don't know, but at the moment John Russell is delivering.
No, for sure. Aidan, that's great. Thanks for that. We have a big round of games to look forward to this Friday night, and a bank holiday round as well on Monday. We'll have all the latest preview content here on the Irish Independent, and we'll be back on Friday night with our instant match reaction video too. Thanks for watching.